Hi, it's me, JJ, and this is a time itself stood still. So growing up, I came from a really hard household. My parents had a rocky marriage and a rockier divorce, and home didn't always feel like home, and my house is not somewhere I always wanted to be. Uh, but there was one place and one person that felt like home, that I knew I could always call home, and a house that I was always wanting to be at, that I never wanted to leave. It would make me emotional to like think about leaving. And that's my great grandma's house. I love my great grandma. When I was a baby, I was actually pulled out of my house for abuse. Um, and my great grandma had actually taken me in. She was the one who took me and my sister, and we stayed with her for a bit. She had a big hand in raising me. I was always at her house after school for all the way up until my junior year, was when she passed. And I was always at her house. I was always with her. I always went to her for advice. She was my go-to girl. She was my best friend and my great grandma. And I always hold her close to my heart, of course. She's the reason why I'm literally standing in the storm at UNT. I really didn't care for college. I just was like, I'll figure it out when it comes. And when she heard me say that, again, when I said that, I was 6 years old. I said, I don't know if I want to go to college. I want to be a Disney Channel star. And she basically grabbed me and was like, look, Mija, I wasn't able to go to college. I wasn't able to go to middle school. I was pulled from, and it was a story she always told. I was pulled from the fourth grade and I was put in the fields to work. Since I was in fourth grade till now, I've been working. I don't want that for you. I don't want you to be as old as I am working. I want a good life for you, and college is that way. She loved learning. I love learning. So I knew I had to go to college. And I always told her, when I apply for colleges, you're my lucky charm. You're going to be right next to me the whole time. More to come. So she wasn't. Spoiler. And uh, leading up to the end of my junior year, like the last couple of days, I was still in online school. She had fallen sick. Uh, I she we don't know if it was COVID or not, COVID related. Again, this was in the midst of COVID. She had gotten pneumonia and it was all in her lungs and whatnot, and she wasn't looking too well. It was really hard on me and my family, to see her in that condition, especially me, my mom, and my sister, who, again, that was our home, that was our house, that was the woman who raised these generation of women. She raised my mom, she raised me and my sister. So it was really hard for all of us. And I just remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, like she better survive and see my senior year at least. Um, and on my last day of senior year, I mean, my last day of junior year, sorry, she passed away. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. My stepdad came in my room and he said, hey, your grandma passed. Can you go comfort mom? And I was like, okay. Like, I didn't process what he said. I just knew that my mom needed me. Um, and so I ran to my mom and I was like, hey, are you okay? And she knew that she had to be there for the whole family. And that's how my grandma kind of raised us was, again, she was a very traditional woman. She's from this different generation. So she raised us as women to take care of the family. So my mom was calling everybody and like telling them what happened, calling them, making sure they're okay. And I was there. I was trying to be there for my mom. Um, and I go back to my room and I just sit there and I was like, what? Like I was trying to process what was going on, and it just I couldn't really. And while I was trying to process it, my mom came to my room and was like, hey, I'm going to grandma's, which is she was moved from the hospital to her house, so she had passed away in her house. She said, I'm going to grandma's, do you want to come or do you just want to go back to sleep? And I said, I want to go. Like, this is my last time to say goodbye to her. Like, I have to say goodbye to this amazing woman, you know. um so we went to her house. My grandma, this is my great grandma, her daughter, my grandmother, not a very emotional woman, not very touchy feely, never really hugged, kissed me, said I love you, gave me a big old hug and said, I love you, Mija. I'm so sorry. Because she knew how much I love my grandma. I probably love my great grandma more than anybody in this whole entire world. Um, so it was very hard. And everything just felt so hectic. The day felt so surreal. Everybody who I've never really seen in her house, like my family, never really came around her house except for, again, me, my mom, my sister. So it was weird to see everybody in the house. It was weird to see everybody kind of reunion. Our family is not, again, a lot of trouble at home in the house. So our family was never around each other, and this was the first time it was like a family reunion. Was when my great grandma passed, and I still had to go to school that day. We still had online school, and I had told my teacher like, "Hey, I'm sorry if I'm like my eyes are puffy. My great grandma just passed," and she knew like, so she was like, "Don't worry, like you're good." um, so the day ended. My mom was like, "It's time to go home." I left my great grandma's house, and it was my sister's birthday actually. She passed away on my sister's birthday again, which was hard on my sister because we all loved my grandma with our whole hearts. And for her to pass away on such a special day for my sister was really hard on her. And so we were going to go out to eat that night to celebrate my sister's birthday. So I had to get ready, to get prettied up. And I remember sitting on my bed, being like, not even being able to process a thought or feel a thought. I just remember being like, I need to breathe, but I simply cannot. And it felt, everything felt still. I remember I reached out my hands because I could not hear a thing. And I just remember, like, because time did not feel real. Time stood still in that moment. For all day, I felt like a blur. It felt like time was just running past me, running circles around me. And in that moment, it felt like I stood time in the face and was like, what? It was the most surreal moment, the most time standing still moment I've ever experienced, was trying to process that whole day from 4 a.m. to I think it was about 5 p.m. So it was about 13 hours later. I had to process all that. Nobody interrupted me, thank God. And I also had to process the passing of my grandmother. So I stood there and I was like, what? Like, what? And again, putting in my first college application, I remember submitting it, and I was around a group of people. I was around all my friends, and I was like submitting my first college app, and I submitted it, and I just felt like a wave hit me again, and I felt that moment. Everything just kind of became like tunnel vision, looking at that app, and I was like, she was supposed to be here right next to me. So every big milestone, again, as the milestones of my senior year came, they felt more and more better. They felt more sweet than bitter, in the bittersweet. Uh, but again, time stood still in every single one of those moments, but not as heavy as that moment that day that she had passed, when I finally got to sit down and process those 13 hours, process her passing. And that felt so surreal. I can't even feel that moment. I can't even remember the feeling, but I just remember not feeling real, not feeling like everything was a blur. And I think because the day was a blur and felt like time was running laps around me, that's what made it feel so still. And to this day, sometimes I get like that, but not as, again, heavy as it was through the milestones. As the milestones happened, when I moved into my dorm, when I finished my first semester, everything started to feel less still. It felt more like, okay, life is going now. I still hold her near and dear to my heart. She's actually right there on that picture. So I have her here with me. And yes, that's my story.